Jack Ebling here with Dan Kilbridge. We are at Breslin Center. Full court press after Michigan State's 96-66 win, a lot of sixes, over Eastern Michigan. And the Spartans in control most of the way, but one-man outstanding performance for Eastern Michigan wasn't enough.
Right, Brandon Bowdry, I mean, he took so many shots, it was unbelievable. He finished the game 10 of 28. He was really the only guy that seemed like he wanted the ball or had an interest in shooting, so I think, yeah, pretty one-sided performance there from Eastern.
Career high in points for Bowdry, tied his career high in rebounds, threatened the Breslin Center record for trash talk, but he took 5 more shots than Kalen Lucas and Darrell Summers combined. Meanwhile, the Spartans with 6 players in double figures, and that was more than Eastern could handle.
Right, and Bowdry played AAU with Kalen Lucas and Darrell Summers over at the family, so they're very familiar with each other. But I think you're right, the balance was really impressive. You talk about the balance on offense for the Michigan State football team all year. This was a very balanced night offensively for the basketball team. Different contributions from a lot of guys like Austin Thornton with 10 points, Adrian Payne, so really just an overall balanced performance for the Spartans on offense.
Lucas and Summers combining for 35 points. Kalen had 5 assists, no turnovers in the first half as the Spartans built a comfortable lead. And then Eastern kind of hung around and didn't let it get blown too far out of shape, and it hung around 28, 30, 31 most of the way, and then the Spartans finished the job. But a lot of players, or a lot of basketball. Keith Appling only missed 1 shot the entire game. Looked like he was going to have a perfect night. He finished with 14 points, and a lot of rebounds to go around too. We had Delvon Rowe, Draymond Green, and Garrick Sherman with 8 rebounds, and Sherman a couple nice offensive moves.
Yeah, he really got it going right away. A couple offensive boards in the first minute and 5 points. I think Izzo really liked what he saw out of him in the first half. And maybe in the second half a little bit, it was more Derek Nix who stepped up in the paint and did a nice job for the Spartans. I think what Izzo really wanted to see and wants to see in these early games is that killer mentality. When you have the expectations that Michigan State does, you really want to be able to put teams away and not let inferior teams hang around. I don't know if he saw quite as much of that tonight as he would like to see, but there was at least a spark, and it's something they can build on. It's only been 1 game.
He wanted to see a better transition game. He saw some elements of that. He saw the Spartans rebound the ball and outlet it. He saw the guards push it up the court, but the wings weren't running, they weren't in position, and a lot of that is just familiarity.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing too, Izzo said, is they haven't put in a lot of the stuff they want to do offensively, so that maybe put Keith Appling in a tougher spot, having to go so much because of the injury to Mike Keebler and Corey Lucius' suspension. So I thought he did a pretty good job. Much better in the second half than in the first half for Appling, and he said he was pleased with himself after the game, just did what the coaches asked, and that's really all you need him to do at this point.
Appling went a little bit rough at first, turned the ball over a couple of times, but they really had trouble checking Bowdry on the perimeter. And one of the questions was, would Michigan State have a 3-man who could do that? Talking with Big Ten analyst Jim Jackson, former Ohio State great, said that could be a problem for Michigan State unless they play Darrell Summers at the 3 some and go with the smaller lineup. There may be times that they do that, but I thought their best lineup against Bowdry was when they put Adrian Payne on toward the end of the game. That seemed to frustrate him to no end.
Right, and they were going out at it in the paint, a lot of talking between them, as you would expect. And I think Izzo said he took part of the responsibility on himself for that. He said, there were some things he would have liked to do better as far as planning for Bowdry, but they didn't have a lot of time to get ready for this game when you're trying to do so many things at once. I think he is confident that Draymond Green can guard a guy like that down the road. We haven't seen it yet, maybe as far as that real lockdown performance goes. And Green, even though he had great stats, said he wasn't pleased with the way he played after the game. So there's room for improvement there, but Izzo seems confident that it can happen.
Michigan State will have Corey Lucius back for the game against South Carolina, and that's a late one. Get your nap in. That's 10 p.m. to start on Tuesday night. Mike Keebler still battling to overcome the injury. We'll see how he is. But Michigan State, when it puts all the pieces together, as deep as any team in the country.
Absolutely, and that's something the opposing coaches always talk about. It's just they go so deep, create so many matchup problems, it's hard to see a lot of teams being able to stop that.
We'll see if the South Carolina Gamecocks can do that Tuesday night, 10 p.m. here in Breslin Center. Jack Ebling and Dan Kilbridge for Full Court Press for SpartanTailgate.com.